Hey, y'all gonna take a little journey walk with me today, because it's a nice day. But you know what? We got some shit to address. Joshua Van, oh my God, bro. So Joshua Van and Taira, one of the most anticipated fights, at least for me, for 327s, postponed for another pay-per-view. But hey, it's your boy DHP, and y'all know the rest, man. And hey, so welcome in to another weekend recap. We got some shit to address. Not too much, but you know, just reiterating from the fights that we saw, matchmaking a little bit. And we got some 327 news because Joshua Van, and by the way, look at the water. The water finally clean around here. It's about time they did something to this damn water out here in this damn Potomac. But yeah, we got to talk about my boy Joshua Van, because 327. By the way, this is going to be, we're going to talk about the shit we saw this weekend, because we got some matchmaking to do. We're going to do that towards the end of the video. But because it's 327 fight week, Joshua Van and Taira, y'all know, for those that have been following my videos for a cool minute, the flyweight division is my favorite weight class in the UFC. Slowly becoming a featherweight, as we're going to talk about it later in this video. But yeah, flyweight is my favorite weight class in the UFC right now. And Joshua Van, I didn't really look into what he hurt. Obviously, it might be just something that's nagging, that he wants a little bit more recovery time because the shit is postponed. Which, you know what? It makes UFC 328 even that more exciting with Kamzat and Sean Strickland. So for those that don't know, Joshua Van has an injury, but the fight is postponed to 328. And now, instead of being the co-main, and it's funny because it's still going to be the co-main event. So instead of the co-main event for this weekend's 327, it's going to be the co-main event for Kamzat and Sean Strickland 328. So that's funny. That's funny that it's still the co-main event. I would have figured, you know, maybe they would have gave Joshua Van his own pay-per-view type shit if, you know, he needed extra time for recovery. But the way it seemed like either he hurt something and it's just a nagging injury and he needs just a little more recovery time, or he recently just heard it like over the weekend and it's nothing too serious where he's just going to take some time off, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks, and then get back to it type shit. But this is the sport of MMA, y'all. This is the sport of MMA. You know, at least I said this in a video last year. It's like, if we have, think about 10 fights, 10 blockbuster fights that we can have, right? 10 blockbuster fights that we can have throughout the calendar year. Or you know what? Because I'm saying calendar year, say 20. 20 blockbuster fights we have through the calendar year. At least half of them is either going to get canceled or postponed due to injury. It never fails. As I believe, it's funny because I said this in videos prior. Still didn't do research on it, but I'm willing to bet that as a sport, MMA, we got the most bailouts. And what I mean by bailouts, look at that shit. Boy, if I was in the state of Florida, you would think that shit was a crocodile or alligator. But as a sport of MMA, we have the most bailouts when it comes like the injuries, fight cancellation, shit like that, due to injuries. 20 blockbuster fights in the calendar year, hypothetically, at least 10 of them is going to get canceled, bro. Because that's just the way the sport is. Now, like I said, I don't know what Joshua Van hurt. I ain't go deep into it. But I'm like, damn, bro. Now, 327 going into this weekend is kind of like, like the fight card is still good, but I feel like this should have been somebody, the main card. I mean, they could have found a better replacement on the main card, to be quite honest, but it is what it is with that. But I'm hoping this really don't derail Joshua Van's performance in a way where he's good enough to fight, but more than likely is not going to be the best Joshua Van. So, because you never know. You never know. Because with these athletes nowadays, especially with somebody like Joshua Van, who not just made a video about this shit like a month or two ago, like the way Joshua Vans get treated by the fans because, you know, the shit that we're having with Pantoja. But, I mean, if you're a Joshua Van hater, it's kind of like a little bit ammunition because now he's talking all this shit, which he has every right because at the same time, this is what we want in a champion. You know, Joshua Van, he wants to be an active champion. He don't want to be sitting in the sidelines. He want to at least, you know, defend the belt, be active as possible. And his haters and other MMA, you know, these niggas is, you know, complaining and whining and bitching because Pantoja lost the belt, or it's not the way Joshua Van beat Pantoja is not the way these niggas wanted. What's the best way I could put it? It's not the result that these niggas was looking for. Like, they wanted Joshua Van to knock this nigga out or something like that. You know, and it is what it is. We had a lot of fights throughout history that's kind of like Pantoja and Joshua Van, but that don't make them a paper champ. I'm like, obviously, when we get to that point where Pantoja get his rematch, we're going to find out who really is the better fighter out of the two. But, I mean, it is what it is. You got to accept the fact that Joshua Van, he did what he did. He's the current champ. Now we got to move forward. It ain't like it's the end of the world for Pantoja, you know. So, but this is just more ammunition for the Joshua Van haters. They say, like, look, he can't even stay healthy for his first title defense. You know, I know how these niggas is. I know what they going to say. They going to say some shit like, he's talking all this shit, talking about being active and all this shit, but he can't stay healthy for his first title defense. I know how these haters think, but hopefully it don't impact his performance too much. And, you know, whether or not he can beat Taira, we going to get there. We going to get there because I wanted to talk about it a lot this week because flyweight is my favorite weight class, so I was definitely going to put a lot of emphasis on this matchup. But at least we get it like a month later. I think 328 is like next month. I got to check the fight dates, but it ain't like it got postponed until like mid-summer. Because I ain't gonna hold you. If Joshua Van did suffer like a huge injury and he needed like some real time to recover, I pretty much guarantee you they would have either did Taira and Pantoja as the interim belt for like International Fight Week or something, or they would have just rebooked Taira and Joshua Van for International Fight Week. Just because if you add in all three, both of them are international fighters. So it will only make sense for these niggas to fight on National Fight Week if there was a setback. But, yeah, I just want to address the injuries and the postponement of this fight because I was really looking forward to this fight. But, on to reiterating and matchmaking from what we saw this weekend. Benito Moicano, boy. By the way, I seen the comments. We're going to get to Tommy. Because I got some very interesting things about Tommy. Because honestly, you know what? We're going to get to Benito Moicano in a few. Let's talk about Tommy. Sugar Sean O'Malley Jr. Could Tommy legit be, and I coined this last week on the preview show, and I'm going to say it again, but I'm going to take it a step even a little further. Maybe like a little overreaction type deal. Could Tommy Mcmillen, could his nigga be even bigger than Sean O'Malley? Like, if you think about what the kids say nowadays, the aura, Sean's presence, his fandom, his personality, could Tommy Mcmillen, can he resonate and be with this current generation? Well, I ain't gonna say that because Sugar Sean fans is still this current generation fans. But can Tommy resonate with the fandom and be bigger? Hold on, let me get through here. Can he be bigger than Sean O'Malley? That's the question we gotta ask. Hold on, let me put this up here. Yeah, so that's the question we gotta ask ourselves. Can Tommy be bigger than Sean O'Malley? And I've seen the comment, and you know what? You're absolutely right. Because, and this is why I said what I said about he needs time and progression to get his shit right. Because you got Kevin Verhajos, you got Luke Riley. Even if, you know, let's just say on hypothetical scale, he gets fast-tracked, right? He gets fast-tracked, and he skipped over those niggas. There's still a lot of niggas that's still at featherweight that potentially could beat him because he's sloppy, right? He don't have the, what's the word I'm looking for? His boxing and his kickboxing is not polished. But I tell you, especially because what he said, and he quoted Drake, whatever. I'm not a big Drake fan, but that's a different topic for a different day. But the way his personality is, and he seemed like he's in tune with today's pop culture, he could definitely be bigger than Sean O'Malley, especially with Sugar Sean's backing. Now, he's going to have to keep winning, obviously. But in a big, grand scheme of things, Tommy could be bigger than Sean O'Malley. And to tell you the truth, and I'm gonna combine a lot of shit together, because for Tommy to be one of the faces of the UFC, the new face of the UFC, it's a little bit windy. I hope it don't blow the phone away. But for Tommy to be one of the, not only bigger than Sean O'Malley, because to tell you the truth, if he's gonna be bigger than Sean O'Malley, then he got to be one of the faces of the UFC. Because Sean O'Malley, even though he's not top 3, Sugar Sean O'Malley is still like one of the top faces of the UFC. If you name like 6, like give me your top 6, top 7 faces of the UFC, Sugar Sean O'Malley is in that list. So for Tommy to be bigger than Sean, he's gonna have to keep winning. He's gonna have to be a polished fighter, and to be bigger than Sean, he's gonna have to be at least in the top 5. Nah, I want to say top 5, top 3 biggest face of the UFC. But when you combine everything together, his potential, not that he could do it or he can do it, it's his potential. What is his potential ceiling? And if you look around him, he has everything and all the tools to be not only a successful boxer and kickboxer, a top 5 contender at featherweight, and even a champion at featherweight, and even the huge, because in today's UFC climate, you need, well, it was like that back then too, like my era of the UFC and the past era of the UFC, it was like that too. But one of the new ages of the UFC, you can say, is that he can more than likely capitalize on the new social media era of the UFC, which is going to vault him to being one of the top faces of the UFC. But he can definitely, I can see him definitely being bigger than Sean, just because of who he is. Now, whether or not that's going to happen, I mean, that's up to him and his progression. But matchmaking wise, And this is why I propose like the UFC to do like at least a top 20, either a top 20 or like how in college sports where we had the top 25. This is why I propose the UFC to do this, because y'all hear me say this all the time, there's a lot of killers in these weight classes that not even ranked. Now I do know some of them, but I don't really know a lot of niggas that's not even ranked. This is why I feel like the UFC, and not just for me, but for a lot of motherfuckers, even like media, obviously like the true media journalists and the niggas that's like in the industry, in the UFC circle, they gonna know some of these niggas. But somebody like me, I mean, I do have some contacts. He's not a major contact, but he's in that realm of the UFC and shit like that. So that's where I get some of my sources from. But he don't know everybody, and he's not gonna tell me everybody. So that's up to me to like go and search for the shit myself. But this is why I'm saying, like, for somebody like me, somebody like y'all, or just a regular casual, it would be nice if the UFC just go like the top 20 or the top 25 like college sports. Because matchmaking wise, so you got Kevin. I would not give him Kevin Vajayos right now. There's no fucking way. And shout out to my mans in the comment. No. Because like I said in the comments, Kevin Vajayos would tear this nigga apart. So no, I would not give him Kevin Vajayos. But if I had to give him somebody, if they wanted to fast track him, if I had to give him somebody in that top 15, I tell you the truth, would you give him somebody like that? And it's crazy because stylistically wise, that would be a horrible matchup for him. That would be a horrible matchup for him. If he get the winner of Pitbull, Patricio, Aaron Pico, that would be a terrible matchup for him. But he's not really ready for some. You gotta give maybe like Steve Garcia. Somebody like Steve Garcia. Maybe. Steve Garcia. You know what? Give him Josh Emmett. If you wanted to fast track him, and the thing about it is because Luke Riley, I would separate Luke Riley and what's the old boy? Tommy Mcmillen. I would separate them two. Kevin Vajayos, I would give Kevin Vajayos, and we talked about Kevin Vajayos like during his after Josh Emmett. But Kevin Vajayos, he's already set and established, you know, to go get like the top getters at featherweight. Luke Riley and Tommy Mcmillen will be your future prospects, where they're here, they're arriving, but they still prospects at the end of the day, so you kind of got to protect them. But if you want to throw them to the wolves, let them go get some niggas in the top, like the bottom half of the top 10, you know, top 15, 10 through 15 rank, other than Kevin Vajayos. But I would keep them separate. You know, Luke Riley, you go on your own path. Tommy Mcmillen, you go on your own path. But yeah, I would give. I mean, there's more than likely they're going to give Tommy Mcmillen a matchup that's not even ranked, or unranked opponent, because I don't feel like they're going. Because this was his UFC debut, so I don't see him getting somebody in the top 15 like that, unless they really trying to fast track him. But if I had to give him somebody in that top 15, might give him Josh Emmett or maybe Arnold Allen. To be quiet, Arnold, tell you the truth, that's actually crazy too, because Arnold Allen, I know how I feel about Arnold Allen. He's missing that last little bit, but Arnold Allen is like one of the best kickboxers in that weight class. So it's kind of like, And this is just if you had to give Tommy Mcmillen the top 15, because I know for sure they're not going to give him where he at right now. He's not going to get a top 15 opponent. But I'll give him Arnold Allen or Josh Emmett. But Renato Moicano. Now, I looked at the rankings Sunday, right? Low key, you can go a lot of ways with a Renato Moicano. So, one thing is off the rip. And by the way, I posted his post-fight interview. I posted his post-fight interview on my story, on my other platform, on Instagram. Y'all go check that out. The nigga's upset, bruh. I don't know what's going on with the UFC and they matchmaking, but between other fighters, MVP, and now Renato Moicano, these niggas is not happy with their fight matchmaking placement. But Renato Moicano, you could go a lot of ways with it, because you can either give him the winner, because based off what he said on his post-fight press conference, or not press conference, but his interview, based off what he said, you can give him the winner of Michael Chandler and Mauricio Rufy. You can give him, you can even rebook the rematch with Beneil Dariush, because Beneil Dariush is coming off a loss, and he's ranked below Renato Moicano. Like, I would have thought Beneil would have still been ranked ahead of Renato, but he actually ranked below Renato. So now you can run that rematch back. You can even give him the rematch with BSD because he has a win over BSD. Or, you know what? Just because. Now, I don't know what the fuck going on with Arman Sayukin. Now, I wouldn't recommend them do this, because then that's an indictment on Arman Sayukin. Because I feel like at this point, yeah, Arman Sayukin, he fucked up, right? He fucked up. He's in the bed that he made himself. Now he got a lie in it. But if they don't want to give Arman Sayukin, if he's still in the doghouse, and this is a far stretch, which it goes against my philosophy and everything I stand for with the fighter rankings and fighter progression through the rankings, right? But just for this video's sake, just because that fight with Renato got canceled, which is also one of Arman's other canceled fights, is it time, the way lightweight is right now, is it time for Renato is it time for them to rebook that fight with Renato Moicano? Again, I wouldn't recommend that fight matchmaking, but if you look at what's going on with lightweight right now, with everybody's being booked, Renato and Arman was supposed to fight like 2-3 years ago. That fight got canceled. He never fought. Is it time that, you know what, Arman, if you beat Renato, the truth be told, this is like, if we had to lay out all the matchmaking matchups and options for Arman, this would be like the 10th or 11th option for Arman, at least for me. But just the way shit going on right now, is it time to rebook that matchup that was supposed to happen like 2-3 years ago? I'm just saying, I'm just throwing it out there. Like I said, I wouldn't recommend it. I'm just throwing it out there. But you can go a lot of ways with it. But choose Gamrot. I feel like stylistically, not even stylistically, the most logical sense. I would let him get the winner of, you know what, either rematch BSD or get the winner of Michael Chandler and Mauricio Rufy. That's where I would go, honestly. Because Beneil Dariush, he could get a rematch against Beneil Dariush, but Beneil, he's below him. And then the way he put it, he don't even want to go back and fight down in the rankings again. So based on how he felt in his post-interview and logic and what makes sense logic-wise, go ahead and rematch him in BSD, or you give him the winner of Michael Chandler and Rescheduled. But That's how I would go for real. That's how I would go. There's a possibility you could give him a Mateusz Gamrot. You could give him that matchup, but I would go with those two. BSD is either BSD, the rematch with BSD, which I don't know if BSD would actually take that matchup, but BSD or the winner of Michael Chandler and Mauricio Rui. But Mateusz Gamrot ain't a bad option either, because Mateusz, he's hovering, he's like 8th or 9th, some shit like that. And they haven't fought before either. So Mateusz Gamrot, that would be a good third option. Rafael Vazid, now logically wise, that would make sense too, because Rafael and Renato Moicano is like right there. Renato's like 10th. Rafael's like 9th, something like that. But Rafael, he just need to drop the featherweight, bro. He just need to drop the featherweight. But yeah, man, that's pretty much it. Women's MMA side, I'm gonna make a separate video on that, because we got some other shit that I need to address, especially with like Kayla Harris and Amanda Nunes. So we're gonna get the Venera Janorba, because I mean her shit is pretty much clear cut. Like at this point, it's either, because I don't think her and Tatiana Suarez fought before, so it's either, unless I missed it, but it's either Tatiana Suarez. Tatiana Suarez is the only logical option for her, because I think Wei Lee is going to get her, it's going to be Mackenzie Dern and Wei Lee Zhang. Unless Wei Lee decided last minute she's going to stay at in Valentina's weight class. But that's pretty much it for, oh! One thing I want to add before I go, because me and shout out to my cousin Joey, we talked about this in the personal messages. Featherweight, it's nice to see. Now, me personally, I'm a wrestling fan. But not like, I used to watch, I still support all my WWE fans and shit like that. I tune in to watch WWE here and there, just for some clips and shit like that. But when I mean by wrestling fan, I mean like, I love my American wrestling, I love my Sambo, I love my Greco-Roman wrestling. So I'm just a grappler fan in general. Love my BJJ, all that shit. Is honest, other than Izzy and Max Holloway and Chuck Liddell, a lot of niggas I like is wrestling based, and they have some great jiu-jitsu. But it's nice to see, especially for featherweight, boxing and kick. The past month and a half, been some good boxing and kickboxing showcase going on. And I fuck with that. I fuck with that, because we bringing that Conor McGregor, that Ilya Topuria style back to featherweight, that Jose Aldo style back to featherweight, even Volk to a degree. Because Volk, say what you want about Volk, but I can put his kickboxing up there. Well, his kickbox is not the best, as far as like, if you want to talk about like Izzy, Alex Pereira, or somebody like that, his kickbox is not the best, but his IQ, like, he has great kickboxing IQ. But it's nice to see like the future of featherweight, the way the shit heading towards a good kickboxing and boxing base. So that's nice to see. But like I said in the review show, featherweight, give it like another year, 2, or maybe even 3 years, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other niggas in the pipeline that's ready to burst on the scene at any moment. Featherweight, this is going to be top 2, top 3 best weight class in the UFC in the next couple years. But yeah, that's all I got for the weekend recap. Ain't nothing else went down. Got 327 this week, so expect a lot of content for 327. I'm gonna do the countdown reaction on my other platform tonight. And yeah, now, hey, we on to Miami, baby. We on to Miami, 327. So Jerry, Carlos Oberg. Oh, let's get to it, man. But yeah, this concludes the weekend recap. Until my next video, holla at y'all niggas later, man.